Welcome to the Real Demers, where we tackle B-sides, the offbeat, and the overlooked. We've worked in and around Hollywood, so we know just how hard it is to get a movie made. This is our space to celebrate cinematic misfits we hope you'll enjoy as much as us. This episode tackles the director's cut of Kingdom of Heaven in honor of its 20th anniversary re-release. It's going to be a fun episode. We already know you're going to love it. God wills it! I'm one of your hosts, Andres Anglade.
And I'm Greg Bellavia.
And today, the B-side we're discussing is the Kingdom of Heaven director's cut in honor of its 20th anniversary. Kingdom of Heaven came out in 2005. It follows Balian of Ibelin as he travels to Jerusalem during the 12th century Crusades. It stars Orlando Bloom and is directed by Ridley Scott. What's your cinematic relationship with Ridley Scott? When did you first discover him?
That's a good question. Blade Runner is my favorite movie of all time. So I've got a lot of feelings when it comes to Sir Ridley. I don't know. I've always liked his stuff. I love that. I love Alien. Huge fan of Gladiator. But then when it was going up for Best Picture, I didn't sour on it, but I was like, wait, this is the Best Picture? And then it was, so it's kind of, it was almost like out of control. I went from my enthusiasm, kind of like hit a point and then kind of came back down. That's nothing against Gladiator. It's awesome. I don't know if I would dub that the Best Picture winner of that particular time, but I guess he's had such a fantastic career. I think he's in kind of, here he is in his 80s still popping stuff out. Even films of his that maybe don't land, and speaking of don't land, like whether or not success or failure and all that jazz, I think Kingdom of Heaven, I'm so excited to talk about today. There's always something interesting with a Ridley Scott film. And I can't say that about a lot of other directors.
You're going to get something unique with him, and you're going to get something that no one else is doing. There's just no one else that does the sort of visual artistry that he displays. For me, I was really trying to remember where the first Ridley Scott movie I ever saw, and I think it was 1492, The Conquest of Paradise, in school, school. Which, thinking about it now, it's like, wait a minute. They showed that to little kids, but trying to celebrate Columbus, they figured a historical film. But I didn't get to really know Ridley Scott films until I'd say about college. So I had seen Blade Runner, and Greg, let me finish. I did not really connect with it the first time I saw it. However, my first internship I ever did in film school was for a small production company in Manhattan. And this is going to be a little bit of a tangent, but I promise there's a point. They constantly got invited to film festivals and screenings because they really wanted, people to see and find new talent. So for the smaller festivals and things like that, they'd kind of make the assistants or some of the interns go. So I got to go to a couple, which is great. But one of them, they actually were showing a theatrical screening of Blade Runner. And I was like, okay, I watched a couple of short films for the production company. I may as well just go check this out. And about 30 seconds in, I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. I mean, just with theatrical surround sound on a massive screen, that is one of the greatest openings to a feature film ever made. And I think that's a testament to the kind of films that Ridley Scott makes, right? You need to see them big. They're just so unique. So, and that was also around the time that Gladiator came out, and that was sort of my, okay, I'm a Ridley Scott fan, because I love Gladiator. I think it could have won Best Picture in my eyes.
I mean, okay, history's on your side, not mine, but that's okay.
But no, I am a fan of Ridley Scott, and obviously not all of his films connect as strongly as others, but for someone who's still cranking out massive epics that like he is, he's someone to definitely be respected and admired.
It's funny, here we are talking about huge Hollywood director Ridley Scott. I think he's kind of underrated at times. I've certainly seen people take him for granted. When Napoleon came out, I saw people kind of like rolling their eyes, and it's like, who else is making a movie like that, in the 2020s at this point? Nobody. And like, that doesn't mean it's the best movie ever. I think the pros outweigh the cons. Even Gladiator 2, which, I have a lot of feelings on, there's still a lot of exciting stuff in that movie, and I enjoyed the experience. So it's just like, I feel like people are really going to miss him when he's gone. Enjoy him while he's here. Speaking of kind of coming back around on something, Kingdom of Heaven getting this recent kind of re-release and and getting it back out there. I think that's great. And you were able to make it out to a screening?
Yeah, I actually saw it in the theaters. I was super excited about that because again, I want to experience this film on the biggest screen in the best sound possible. So it was awesome. Yeah. So this film came out in 2005. It was considered a disappointment at the box office. Do you know what film was top of the box office for that year? I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint. It's an independent film.
I don't know if it qualifies. I'm trying to think back to 2005. Is it Crash?
No.
Okay.
It is a small film directed by George Lucas called Star Wars Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, dear. All right. Oh, man, 2005.
2005, yeah. You know, your guess for an independent film, Crash, actually won Best Picture at the Oscars. And surprisingly, and look, we'll get into this later, but Kingdom of Heaven was not nominated for any Oscars.
I was actually in the audience that year. I was working a job. They had a raffle.
Oh,
I won the raffle with a couple other coworkers. Here we are, just very, very young, maybe 3 rows from the back of the theater. And it's this wonderful memory, ... You know what sums up the evening? At one point, 3 6 Mafia won.
That's right.
And Jon Stewart, who was hosting,
made that great joke.
3 6 Mafia won, Martin Scorsese's it. And that sums up to me the whole, look, good for them. I'm not throwing stones. Not the strongest year. Being like, they're not saying there weren't good movies, but it wasn't like a powerhouse of a whole bunch of different, so it's just funny. Like, I would do the Pepsi challenge. I would put Kingdom of Heaven up against most of those movies for Best Picture. Not saying it should have won, but looking at that field and this movie,
there are a couple good movies up there. Like, I will ride for Spielberg's Munich. I'm a huge fan of that film.
Munich's really good. Munich's not the best Spielberg movie you're ever going to see.
No, for sure. But also, in terms of Kingdom of Heaven, though, the director's cut I would put up there.
Okay.
Because the theatrical cut, there's a part of me that's like, oh, I get it. Like, I get why people didn't connect with it, right?
Well, I think that's a good jumping off point. What is your first experience with Kingdom of Heaven?
I saw it in theaters when it came out. Ridley Scott had back-to-back great movies with Gladiator and Black Hawk Down, which is a lot of fun and visually incredible. Just seeing the trailer for this, another epic done by Ridley Scott, I was super excited about it. And I came out of it knowing that there were issues. Like, you could tell there were certain scenes that felt like they sort of came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at the time, I couldn't quite put my finger on the choppiness of it, but it just felt like there were things that were disjointed. And then ultimately, when they released the director's cut on Blu-ray, I snapped at the chance to grab that because all anyone was talking about was how much better a cut it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I got that and I watched it, and it made so much more sense in terms of character motivations and just the overall story. Was that the same with you? Did you see this one, the director's cut first?
I did, and I want to go back. I agree 100%. The movie that I think could have won Best Picture or been up for Best Picture is the director's cut, because I walked out of this very disappointed. It was choppy. To your point, I didn't know what we were missing. I wasn't like, oh, I bet there was a scene there. Eva Green's shift towards the end, I'm like, what is happening here? And honestly, knowing he could pull a Gladiator off, seeing here's another historical action film, I was just very disappointed. And I feel like even with director's cuts, a lot of times they won't change a movie that much. Like Blade Runner, huge difference in the director's cut than the regular one. But they're still both great movies. And then, yes, one, you might have a preference on one or whatever, but I don't think it knocks it into a stratosphere it's not already in. And I could go down a list of other movies. So I had a friend that was with me that night that was telling me, oh my gosh, you have to see the director's cut of Kingdom of Heaven. And honestly, I'm like, how much better is it going to get? Oh, okay, it's going to be a little better than what we saw. And there's so many other things to see. And it's, it's long. It's a long film. So it's like, I'm going to sit down and do that. Time passed. I hear other people say it. And I do like Ridley Scott. I'm like, well, maybe I owe it. Sure, why not? Maybe top 5, perhaps top 3 director's cuts that make it into a better film. Like substantially better.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think I've found anyone who disagrees with that. Everyone agrees who's seen the director's cut and is able to compare it to the theatrical cut. They say, yeah, it's just that much better of a film. For this go around, what version did you watch this time? Because there are a couple different versions. I think there's something called the Roadshow edition that is. I did
the Roadshow.
And does that have the intermission?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Because when I went to the theaters to watch the director's cut, it didn't have the intermission. So where's the intermission? I'm so curious.
What? Actually, the intermission is right after they stop Saladin's army from attacking Karak.
Oh, nice. Yeah. It's such a good scene. Yeah. When I saw it in the theater, I think it's just the director's cut didn't have the intermission in there. So I was curious where that where that landed. You know, talking about different versions of the film, like the first director's cut I ever saw was Blade Runner.
Really?
Do you know, is that the first, like, is Ridley Scott the grandfather of director's cuts? Like,
I would say yes. Only I'm not sure if he's the first to do it, but that legend, it's around so many of his movies. Napoleon. I waited on Napoleon until that came out.
Oh, did you watch the director's cut?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
I'd say it's really good. And like, it's still unwieldy. All the complaints people had for Napoleon in the theater, I was like, a director's cut's going to probably fix most of it.
Yeah.
And it did.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I don't want to mangle the name. The one he did with about Moses and Christian Bale.
Exodus, Gods and Kings.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's supposed to have like an hour and a half of extra footage. Now, who knows if that's going to salvage it, but there was a film that like nobody likes. I bet the director's cut would help that one out too. Yeah. So he's kind of like, I always associate him with that. And for the most part, again, I think maybe it gives this movie like Blade Runner, Alien, Legend. Sure, they're all still playing in the same ballpark. This one, I would add a star rating to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's incredible. All right, so let's get to our categories. Our categories is where we like to highlight some of our favorite moments and performances in the film. What do you feel is the heart of the film?
Well, as sappy as it is, but like I like the earnestness, and that's one of the things I think just doing good in a very corrupt world, and kind of how that manifests itself across a series of characters.
Yeah, I agree. Just watching it again, and I hadn't seen it in years, I was really taken by specific scenes that sort of break down exactly what the film is about. And to me, one of the scenes that does that is where Baleen meets with King Baldwin. And to me, that scene, it sort of breaks everything down to its basic premise. It's about a man finding his path and place in the world. And to me, it's sort of like a resurrection path outside of God and outside of religion. Obviously, God and religion play a large part in the film, and it's in the setting, the historical setting it's in. But ultimately, what I took from it is that Baleen, his character, is seeking his own faith, his own answers from God. And to him, he never hears from God, right? He says that. He's like, God hasn't spoken to me. And he's constantly looking for the answers. But as he's searching, he's becoming what he always intended to be. It's that case of life is what's happening when you're making other plans, right? Yep. Or the path you seek is different than the path you're meant for. Life has its own plan for you, and it's up to you to determine what kind of person you want to be as it happens. And then in what he does, and the overall message is like what you said, it's to be kind and use the power you have to do what's right. No matter your religious beliefs, there can be no compromising, right, of your soul. Mm-hmm. And that to me is just in that scene where he first meets with King Baldwin and, explains chess and what's happening.
Yep. Well, I think it's the socio-political world we were in at the time in 2005. It's like, here's Ridley Scott. It's the director of Gladiator. He's back. There's knights. There's fighting. It's like, that all sounds great. But it's this plea for kind of like compassion and trying to find peace. It's a war movie that's really about characters trying to find peace. The last battle, yes, it's very exciting. And there's a siege and all the stuff that you'd associate with like a wartime action film. But the two opposing sides, the Christians and the Muslims, you're not like, wow, I really hope that one side wipes the other side out. Because that's not the point of it. The point of it is them trying to fight to a draw and find peace between them. And I think and not to get all political about it, but in a post 9/11 America, where maybe some of our foreign policy is getting dicey, that's clearly on his mind. I don't think we're reaching when we put that in there. I think to put that in a Hollywood blockbuster, that's really cool, and I enjoy that. And so it's like, I think it wears its heart on its sleeve. And again, to your point, with like there's multiple conversations about place in the world, what's God's will, that type of thing, in a story that's trying to arrive at, by the end of it, a peaceful resolution of this characters while giving you action, while giving you thrills and romance. I think that's a neat trick to like attempt, and in the director's cut pull off. And I feel like in the theatrical, you can kind of see them throwing a whole bunch of balls in the air and they're crashing around you. It's just not landing, but yeah.
Yeah. And to pull up one of our other categories, is it ahead of its time? It absolutely is that dissection of kings having respect for each other. Mm-hmm. And not giving us, the audience, a specific, well, I was about to say not a specific villain, but there are villains in the film.
but I think it's
but in terms of showing
the villain that you would necessarily, if I pitched the story,
Exactly. Right.
you'd think it was, oh, you're on the side of the Christians. No, it's it's anti-zealotry.
Exactly. And it's showing the mutual respect that two opposing kings can have. There's that great moment when King Baldwin and Saladin meet in the battlefield, and they've reached terms, and then they're going to go their separate ways, and Saladin says, I will send you my my doctors, basically, like my physicians. That level of respect that it's not really shown in a lot of films between opposing figures. We already started talking about it, so is there anything else in terms of being ahead of its time?
I just find it funny, if you were to make this movie today, dust off the script, get all the actors together, send it out there in 2025, Ridley went woke. I feel like, so it's anything like, I feel like it's ahead of its time, and also it's of its time. Preachy is the wrong word, but again, it wears its heart in its sleeve. I don't think this would be received well now, even the director's cut. Because I don't think people, and like for good or for ill, I don't think a message of compassion that gets so weaponized today. So it's like, I do think it's ahead of its time, but then I think enough time passed. Now it almost seems like a relic, as sad as that is to say.
No, it's so true. Like, again, we don't need to get super political, but yeah, it's showing that compassion and empathy, and that's what, just the introspection of other cultures too, right? Yeah. I'm a huge fan of it, but like you said, it's like, I don't know if this film would get made today because of that.
And that's again why I think if you're a fan of this one, please check out Napoleon. Just for anybody out there, I wouldn't put it quite up there with this one, but again, it's him trying to play in a similar sandbox of like addressing political themes of the times, using historical stuff, crazy action sequences, Joaquin Phoenix doing a real good. So it's like there's so many pros. Does it all come together perfectly? No, but still, like it's Ridley delivering what Ridley Scott does.
And you recommend the director's cut for that, right?
Yes, it's long, but again, to our point, like you're going to sit down and binge some other show for that long anyway. Just watch the whole. That's fine.
Awesome. Okay, so favorite scenes or scene.
This is tough because I like the whole thing. There is something about the director's cut opening, that first like 40 minutes with Liam Neeson. And maybe it's just the presence of Liam Neeson or just whatever. But I like him coming back, him trying to like make things right with his son. And then, kind of Orlando Bloom getting swept up on this adventure. Now, can we get into a couple of the differences between the two versions? Why I think this
Absolutely. I think this is the place to discuss that for sure.
Okay. So to me, there's three things that suffer. We'll get back to this. This all ties into scenes in a second. So it's connected. The three things that suffer with the theatrical cut is Orlando Bloom's spiritual journey, Eva Green's character, and then just the call to adventure at the beginning, like the name is, because when you cut that out in the theatrical version, Orlando Bloom looks like a sociopath. He's just killing. Okay, wow, a priest said something kind of insulting. I'm going to kill this guy. All right, now I'm off with this. And like you lose. Oh, they're brothers. Oh, he's really mourning his wife and child who have passed on. So he's already going through that psychological turmoil. Wow, his brother's been horrible to him for probably his entire life. There's this bedrock of story to put this call of action onto that just does not exist in the theatrical. So I'm already not on Orlando Bloom's side. He's like, oh, okay, he's on an adventure. Liam Neeson's journey. Liam Neeson had that period of time. This, Batman Begins, Gangs of New York, like Star Wars. He's the mentor. He's going to come in, do his thing, and then he's out of the movie. Yes, that's here, but it's so cut down in the theatrical. It's like, well, okay, just a quick buck for Neeson, where it's actually, there's a much richer performance hanging on there. Maybe it's just the fact that that's finally rounded out and I can enjoy the whole thing, but I really enjoy the opening for it. That's not to say once they get to Jerusalem, I'm not enjoying all that stuff, but just that's so robbed in the other version I saw. I love just kind of luxuriating in like this, oh, I get to know these characters. Okay, I understand these decisions, and that's it. What about you? What stands out?
No, and just to respond to some of the stuff you just said, it's a testament to the fact that on its 20th anniversary, they re-released the director's cut to theaters and not the theatrical cut. The fact that the studio's spending money on theatrical run, it was one night only, but still spending money to distribute it in theaters, the director's cut. Again, that's a testament to how much better of a film it is compared to the original theatrical cut. For me, it really was that idea of character motivations. Like you had said, with Balian in the beginning, you get more of the turmoil that he was in terms of the loss of his wife, the suicide of his wife, right? And that's a big thing to delve into as well. Again, we can get into this later, faith versus religion aspect that the film explores. Favorite scenes, I love the siege on Jerusalem. The big awesome Ridley Scott battle scene. And again, the other scene I really liked is Balian meeting the king. To me, like I said before, the core of the film is really found there.
Mm-hmm.
And it sort of sets a lot of the tone in terms of where Balian might end up going, just because he was so lost before that, right? He was just sort of along for the ride and following his dad and going to Jerusalem and figuring things out. But honestly, this watch, the thing that stood out the most to me, and I think what resonated with me the most, was Ava Green.
Oh my gosh.
And her scenes with her son and that storyline. I mean, in the original theatrical cut, it is completely cut down.
Yeah. And that was Ridley Scott recently gave an interview where he talked about how how upset she was, justifiably, and he got that. He was forced to had to cut it.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody suffers worse than she does in the cut.
100%. I mean, I even completely forgot about that storyline a little bit. And I just remember the first time I saw it, of the OG theatrical cut, it was implied that her ascension to the throne as queen came right after her brother died.
Yes.
King Baldwin.
Yes.
And that her depressive state was because of his death.
Yes.
And she went way, way, way depressed, like, which was surprising the way it was cut. It felt over the top.
Yes.
And you're just like, why? His death was expected. Like, and I'm not going to judge someone for how they're going to react to their family member dying. But then when you watch the director's cut, oh no, there's a lot more happening.
Yep.
It's like a 3-punch thing. It's Balian saying he's not going to marry her and ascend to the throne once her brother dies. Then it's her brother dying. And then it's her realizing her son might suffer the same pain that her brother did and died a young life. So she decides to take her son's life.
Yep.
That throws her in that crazy depressive state, which makes sense.
Yes. No, it's again, you can just tell, even if you don't know it was cut down, there is something inherently wrong, uncanny valley wrong in the theatrical, where you're like, I sense that she arrived at the end, and you're right. When she just looked depressed at the coronation and everything, you're just like, what? And like, she's a great actress. I always enjoy her in things.
Yeah.
She would not modulate it that wrong. So what's happening here? And it's like, oh, she didn't. It's you're missing crucial backstory to get there. I agree 100%.
Yeah. She has this, you might have to do a little bit of evil for the greater good, which she tells Balian. And he's just will not compromise on that. But everyone else around him does. And it's just so interesting. Yeah. It's just, I love the exploration of these themes.
Can we dive into my one misgiving with the film?
Sure.
I think that the way the character is written, he's a handsome guy. He's great. He's a great lover. He's a fan. He can rally up troops. He's a great leader. He can build he's so capable that actually that line that you just said, where at one point, if maybe it would be better if he went along with this murder plot, he ends up with this beautiful woman, he can run the kingdom better than the king can, but no, he won't compromise his morals. I wish that came back to bite him in the ass a little bit more.
I agree, because ultimately, he gets away with it. He ends up with the woman, but it's still like life kind of doesn't work like that.
That's exactly it. And like, I love his spiritual search. That's great. But I feel like the dirtiest things he does in the movie is he kills his brother. Oh man, how terrible. That guy was being an asshole. I don't think you tell me somebody in the theater who's not like, oh, I'm really sorry that guy died. They stack the deck. They make him this evil character. So you're like, I get it. I totally see. And then he's in an adulterous relationship, but her husband's terrible. So it's like he keeps making decisions, but they're kind of black and white in a way. I wish there was a little bit more of a grayness there, where it's like he never has to feel, after he kills his brother, he never has to really feel guilt about that for the rest of the movie. And the affair, he doesn't really feel any guilt because that guy's such a douchebag. So it's just I think that's all out of Orlando Bloom's hands. That's
no, but that is a good point. That being said, in killing his brother, it's that sort of premeditated versus manslaughter. Like his brother was in the moment, and then like planning something, it does dig at your soul a little bit.
I absolutely. And it's not that I want him to go along with the plot. I think that's good. But like, I wish there was more blowback, or during that giant battle at the end, even a moment to himself, or him talking to God, just like, should I have gone along with that? And a little bit of like, oh my God, because she makes that warning and it's like, ooh, that's a good dig at him. He never feels any pressure from that. You never feel like, you know what? Maybe I should have gone along with that plot. And again, that's not on him. And he's a handsome guy, surrounded by so much gruffness in this film. So many like gnarled, wonderful gnarled faces and just classic, Hollywood actors and character actors and that type of thing. They just the character, like the women to like even towel him off. He's anti-slave. He's anti, like, just everything about him is so positive. I think they could have made him a little bit more just conflicted and human in the back half of the movie. That's my one note.
That's a great point, because then he's almost too much. I mean, but then is it an exploration of like he is that Christ figure? Like is he that? And is that their way of showing that? I mean, it's something to consider as well. Okay, our next category is MVP, most valuable performance. Who you got?
This is tough because I think there's a lot going on. I might go Green in the director's cut because I feel like they've got normally like the love interest. That's a tough act to follow.
Yeah.
I feel she gets to play romantic. I think she gets to play completely devastated, and then to kind of come back at the end, just like he starts the movie completely devastated. She goes from a place of kind of a carefree life. Yeah, my husband's terrible, but I don't need to see him that often. She can live this life of leisure. I always like a Jeremy Irons. Brendan Gleeson swinging for the fences with some of his stuff. There's a lot of fun stuff.
He's going to come up in a later category. Don't you worry.
But no, I feel like in terms of like journeys, I love the questions that Orlando Bloom's character is asking, but in terms of like who starts the movie in one place and who ends the movie in a different place, I love kind of her arc.
I 100% agree. I thought about, maybe Saladin or Edward Norton as King Baldwin. You need good actors to pull off those empathetic leaders, but it's Ava Green. I'm with you. Our next category is underrated element. For me, honestly, just in terms of when the film was made, the practical locations.
Yeah.
And the production design. It's that Ridley Scott-ness. The frame is his canvas, and you just have gorgeous things in the background and with the actors. And you don't get that with a lot of films nowadays. Like even the practical battles, there are some scenes where you can notice some CG elements.
Sure.
It's done really well. And I think they use it sparingly.
No, absolutely. Visually, it's a feast. It's a great looking movie. I'd put that up there with one of my favorites by him. I mean, like, it's up against stiff competition. I think Blade Runner's gorgeous, Legends gorgeous, et cetera, et cetera. But like, this is up there. It looks fantastic. I might go with the score. The score really stood out to me this time.
Yeah.
I think the score really accompanies it well, and that it draws you in and it's exciting, but it's not too bombastic. I think that'd be an easy thing to screw up. That's also something I caught more of this go around, because I think the first time I was just digesting how much I was not enjoying it. The second time I had seen it in the director's cut, I was just taking in how different it was, how much I was liking it. And this time I was able to kind of appreciate the forest for the trees. I was able to kind of luxuriate in it. And I really got into the score this time.
Oh, that's awesome. No, the score is incredible. And I'm surprised it's the first time we're actually mentioning it. One of our favorite categories, who's having the most fun?
I'd like you to answer this one first.
Oh, for me, it's absolutely Brendan Gleeson as Renaud de Chatillon. He is chewing that scenery in the best possible way. We talk about villains. He is that villain that you want to hate, along with Guy de Lusignan, Ava Green's husband. They're both incredible, but Brendan Gleeson, he's having so much fun in this film.
Okay, I came into this thinking I was going to say Gleeson. And I think Gleason's a fun. I got to go to bat for Michael Sheen. He's so evil in the first part.
Yeah.
There's nothing redeeming about this man. And I think he enjoys it. That's why I'm saying it. Because him with the grave diggers, cut off her head. Him with the brother, trying to steal his brother's stuff, repeatedly stealing money from the brother, slapping his brother in the face, telling his brother gleefully that his wife went to hell. Yes, he's not starting wars, but line for line, punch for punch, I think he's as evil as any of the other characters in the movie. And the other thing is, Brendan Gleeson gives credit to the Green character. And I think he goes, well, she has more backbone than I do. He could, and at one point, he does the dirty job because nobody else will. Well, somebody has to or something.
Right.
He realizes he's a skunk. He gets that he's a bad guy. Michael Sheen, completely immoral. So I think we got two excellent entries for it. And I just feel like I absolutely can see Gleeson. I don't know if Sheen gets enough credit, especially since if you've only seen the theatrical, you only get half of his.
Absolutely.
And I looked it up. I think Sheen's dead by the 20-minute mark on the director's cut. I think Sheen's dead by the 9-minute mark in the theatrical.
Yeah,
and that's amazing.
It's how crazy. It's crazy how chopped up the theatrical is. For our listeners, if you're gonna watch any version, watch the director's cut. Do not watch the theatrical cut.
That's an important distinction. I would have a real hard. The whole point of this podcast is to celebrate stuff and kind of dust stuff off. I have a hard time defending the theatrical, but the director's cut, absolutely go back and check it out.
What scene would you show someone to convince them to watch it?
I think you'd have to hook the action crowd, and then you can get into the whole theological bent later. So I'd go where they get ambushed in the woods.
Oh man, that was exactly what I was gonna say. Yes, yes, and for those reasons, because you have to get people with the action, and you also don't want to give a scene that's way too later. And I'll be honest, I totally thought maybe the scene where King Baldwin and Saladin meet, it's such a good scene where they talk. But you're right. For me, that shows the scope. And oh man, this could be a massive battle. It's about to happen. So you could get someone excited about that. But no, I think you're right. The wood scene. I cut you off. Sorry. So I didn't know if there was.
Oh no. I think. Look, you have excellent taste. we're on the same page.
Awesome. Okay. T-shirt quote. The problem with this one for this film is there's a lot of good quotes in it, but I feel like if you were to put this on a t-shirt nowadays, you might get something thrown at you while walking out in public.
It is a bit, there are a lot of, so what's yours that would get us in trouble in public?
I mean, God Wills It is the obvious one, right?
Yeah.
So that one, but I would never wear that t-shirt.
It's certainly very loaded in 2025 for a variety of reasons.
And this is something we didn't really, we mentioned a little bit, but we really didn't talk about or go in depth into the religion versus faith. Like, I feel like this film is very anti-religion, but pro-faith.
Look, this is dicey. People get so worked up about it. I think the way religion is portrayed in film, you have to have some guts to even jump in there, because you're going to get people all over you. And B, I don't personally always find films that I connect with. I love there's stuff out there for everybody. That's fine. I love this movie asking questions. I love this movie trying to get so that's it's not just that I like that they tackle it, but I like how they tackle it. And I can't say that about a whole bunch of other stuff. I think Scorsese does a good job in this regard.
Yeah.
There's a few others, but it's a very short list. So they have, again, coming off the director of Gladiator, the director of Matchstick Men, the director of, Black Hawk Down, to then come back with something like this that's trying to really address that. That's interesting.
For sure. And again, just this would not be made today. But there's a couple other lines, like even with when Balian's with the priest and Saladin and his army's about to attack Jerusalem, and the priest is like, we can leave, you and I can leave, we'll take a couple of horses and we'll go. And then Balian just turns to him and goes, you've taught me a lot about religion.
Yes.
But then the other one is when they realize they're probably gonna lose Jerusalem, he just turns to Balian and he says, convert to Islam, ask for repentance later.
Yep.
They are spoon feeding like the anti-religion to us. It's not subtle.
Well, he's a worm. Again, Michael Sheen's character, but then there are religious figures that like the fighting soldier that's beyond beside him. So it's like there is a counterbalance. But again, to your point, it's a pro-faith, anti-religion.
Yeah, it's and again, that's just not something that would be made today. But it's worth watching just for those questions and the discussion of it.
I don't know if it's too. I guess my t-shirt. I keep going back to what man is a man who does not make the world better.
Greg, we are on the same page. That's what I have written down.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It's a little okay. Look, you said spoon feed before. This is not a subtle script. It's not. I mean, just like look, it's a giant, bombastic, sweeping romance, giant action scenes, and like when it comes to this stuff, Scott wants you to know what's on his mind. A lot of his screenplays are very much okay. Here's what's going on. Yeah. This is one of them. I like the poetry present in this film. I like how it's presented. So I like that's a lovely phrase. Like his back and forth with the priest. Yeah, the priest is very on the nose. It's all entertaining stuff. Some people were giving him guff for Napoleon. Some people were giving him guff for this. Well, that's not how people talked during time out, whatever. Yeah. That's not the story he's telling. He's taking these trappings to give his sermon about faith versus religion. And it just, that's not exactly one-to-one how it is. I'm not interested in that. I'm trying to tell you a yarn, and here's how I'm doing it. And he's very upfront about that. And I like, he doesn't pretend to do anything otherwise.
No, I love his films, man. I'm just such a fan. Again, you're getting something that no other director is doing. These massive epics with just these amazing visuals and great storytelling. And sure, do the scripts always connect? No, you're going to get something that no one else is doing. I feel like I'm just repeating that.
And because I feel like maybe that's where I've been the most critical. I like this. Like there's a reason we're gushing about this movie for a reason. There's just a few notes on the central character and a few other things here or there that make, nothing's perfect. And I think it'd be kind of a boring podcast. We just came on here. It's like, everything's great. right, the end.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes
Yeah.
it's interesting to kind of jump into, well, why didn't something go a certain way? But on Scott, what would you call his most underrated movie?
Oh, that's a good question. His most underrated. Honestly, I think it's this one. I think it's
Okay.
the director's cut of this because I feel like a lot of people probably haven't seen it.
Well, he was even saying in that interview on this re-release that he came out of the gate with Duelists, Alien, Blade Runner, Legend. Oh my gosh, a couple of straight up classics. And Legend is Legend, but still they weren't all money makers. And they're
Yeah.
like, buddy, you got to pull it together. So then his next film was the crime movie Someone to Watch Over Me, which is fine. It's okay, but it's kind of like no, I don't mean this in a mean way. It's not as exciting as the others. So it's kind of like, well, why did he do that? He did that because the others weren't making money. And they're just like,
Oh.
could you make a movie that's not a crazy fantasy or a historical drama, please? So
I mean, I haven't seen it in a while. A lot of people don't talk about Thelma and Louise,
oh, okay. Okay.
but I haven't seen it in a while, so that's something I'd have to revisit. For the films that I adore of his, I would say Kingdom of Heaven, the director's cut, is
Okay.
underrated. What about you?
Okay. I have three. It's this one, The Counselor, Alien Covenant. I feel like not enough people talk about Alien. That's my getting into a fist fight with a film bro on the street answer.
Oh,
I feel
okay,
like people
really?
are not gonna like. Well, because like who's defending Alien Covenant? But I think a lot of people got turned off by Prometheus, and I feel like they didn't make it out to Covenant. And I actually prefer Covenant. I think Covenant fixes some issues that I have in Prometheus. So also I think The Counselor is very interesting, but it's probably not the movie you're expecting. So I think a lot of people who went in to see it weren't prepared for it. But I think that one's due like this one has a reappraisal going on right now. I
Yeah.
love that. I hope Counselor gets a similar one in a few years.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen Covenant, so I don't know. And The Counselor, I have seen.
I okay. Maybe that's a conversation for another day. But here's where I'm going. When we ask that question, there's a ton of directions to go.
Of course.
And
Of
I
course.
think that just speaks to how strong of a director he is.
And how many different genres he does. I mean, with The Counselor, it didn't connect with a lot of people, but the cast is stacked. And the story, again, it didn't connect as well for me, but there are definitely aspects in it that you can enjoy.
In a recent interview promoting this film, he said that there's a Western he'd like to do. Now, again, in 2025, Kevin Costner's having all those problems with Horizon. Who knows? But I'd love to see it. It's going to be visually.
Well, he wanted to do, was it Blood Meridian, the Cormac McCarthy book he's wanted to do? Like, I thought he was going to do that years ago.
They asked him about it, and he would not give any details. So I think this is
Gotcha. Okay.
So I would have loved to have seen Ridley Scott's Blood Meridian.
Kingdom of Heaven was not nominated for any Oscars. If the Oscars were going to legitimately nominate something from this film, what would it be?
My two good answers are Green for acting and the cinematography.
Yeah. Same. I even put production design on there.
Oh, sure. I mean,
yeah, I would say for sure Ava Green for Best Actress. Although I don't, is it supporting?
Oh, it's one of those. Maybe it's close, but you run them for supporting because they have a little bit more heft than maybe they'll win the category.
Yeah. So for sure Ava Green, cinematography, absolutely, and production design. To be honest, again, looking back, I'm surprised when you look back at a lot of Academy Awards nominees. They tend to take films that aren't always the most successful, and sometimes they'll get nominated for like best sound or best sound design or things like that. I was surprised that this didn't even get one of those. Like, I'm still surprised that this got 0 Oscar nominations.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head earlier, though. It's Greg and Andreas are defending the director's cut. At the time, this probably didn't have that many champions. I mean, like, I think even if you were a fan, you'd be like, well, there's some cool stuff in there, but it's being held back. So I just think if it was the full version, maybe we'd be having a completely different conversation about it.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, our last category, what we want to like to do, we know how difficult it is to make something, so we want to give a crew shout out.
This go around, Harry Gregson Williams, the composer. I love the score. There's so much happening here. I feel like it's easy to get lost in the conversation, but I not only is it important, I think it does its job. I really was digging it this go around. There's certain terms that get tossed around maybe too much. This is a feast. It's a long movie. There's a ton to see. There's a ton to hear. It's got a texture to it. Like again, it's practical effects. You feel like you're walking around the city. The sound is so important, and I feel like they nailed that along with the visual aspect.
Awesome. I am gonna shout out Arthur Max, who is the production designer. I just, again, watching the scene with Balian meeting King Baldwin, just looking in the background and the incredible design happening, I'm constantly blown away by every single shot in this film. And other credits, he was a production designer on Seven and Gladiator. And then he pretty much did all of Ridley Scott's films since then. And most recently, he did Gladiator too.
Okay. I mean, what a great, and again, very varied material. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for this discussion. If you enjoyed what you heard, please support by leaving a like or a review on whatever platform you listen to podcasts. You can find us on Blue Sky and Instagram at Real Deemers. If you want to reach out and send a comment, you can email us at realdeemers@gmail.com. Our music is by Adolfo Delanoy. You can check him out on Instagram at Adolfo Delanoy. That's DELANNOY. Thanks again, and be safe.